Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we unpack the secrets hidden within companies' financial filings. And boy, do we have a treat today. It seems our featured company has been borrowing a bit and is now trying to make things right. Let's dive in and see what's really going on. Alright, let's get straight into it. We're looking at a Form 8K filing from Nuburu Inc. Now, a Form 8K is like a company's public diary for important events that shareholders need to know about right away, not just when their usual quarterly reports come out. Think of it as urgent news. And the main news here from July 16th, 2025 is about the company getting some cash and taking on some new financial promises. Nuburu, they got a capital infusion, which is a fancy way of saying they received money, $15,000 to be exact. In return for this cash, they issued something called an unsecured convertible note to a group called Indigo Capital LP. Now, what's a converter be turned into ownership like shares of stock in the company? This specific note from Indigo doesn't charge any interest as long as the company's stock performance is set at 80% of the lowest average price the stock traded at over a 5-day period right before it gets converted 2020-26. Here's a tricky part though, the price at which this note can be converted into stock is tied to the company's stock performance. It's set at 80% of the lowest average price the stock traded at over a 5-day period right before it gets converted 26. Here's a tricky part though, the price at which this note can be converted into stock is tied to the company's stock performance. It's set at 80% of the lowest average price the stock traded at over a 5-day period right before it gets converted 2010 into stock. But that's not all. Just a few days later, on July 21st, Nuburu had another deal. This time they entered into a securities purchase agreement with 1800 Diagonal Lending LLC. For a capital infusion of $157,000, they issued another convertible promissory note, this one worth $72,700. This new note, called the Diagonal Note, is a bit different. It carries an interest rate of 10%, which is a regular interest charge and is due for repayment on April 30th, 2026. Starting 1880 days after it was issued, this note can also be converted to Lending LLC. For a capital infusion of $172,700, this new note called the Diagonal Note is a bit different. It carries an interest rate of 10%, which is a regular interest charge and is due for repayment on April 30th, 2026. Now, both these deals have some interesting limits. The number of shares that can be issued when these notes are converted is capped. It's limited to 19.9% of the company's outstanding stock at the time the agreements were signed. This is often done to prevent a massive influx of new shares that could significantly dilute the value of existing shares, which is like spreading the ownership pie into too many tiny pieces. Also, neither Indigo Capital nor Diagonal Lending can end up owning more than a certain percentage of Nuburu stock through these conversions. Indigo is limited to 9.9% and Diagonal is capped at 4.99% and Diagonal is capped at 4.99%. This is to ensure that the new investors don't inadvertently take control of the company without further specific approvals. Plus, both these notes are ranked below the company's Series A preferred stockholders, get paid back before the holders of these convertible notes. These sales are also interesting because they were private placements. That usually means they were sold directly to investors like Indigo and Diagonal, who are considered accredited investors. This type of sale is exempt from the usual more complicated registration process required for selling stocks to the general public under the Securities Act. It's a way for companies to raise funds more quickly from specific sophisticated investors. So what's the big picture here? Nuburu is clearly in need of cash, and they're getting it by issuing debt that could become equity. This is a common strategy, especially for companies that might be in development or looking to expand, but it does come with strings attached, like the potential dilution of ownership and the requirement to pay back the loans or issue stock. The executive chairman, Alessandro Zamboni, signed off on this report, which is standard practice. Now, looking at the broader context, Nuburu is an emerging growth company, meaning they're considered small by regulatory standards, which allows them certain flexibilities. They are publicly traded on the NYSE American LLC under the ticker symbol BURU. They are in the business of developing laser technology for industrial applications. This kind of financing is often seen in early stage or growth phase companies that need capital to scale their operations, invest in research and development, or perhaps to cover operating expenses until they become consistently profitable. So what's my take on Nuburu based on this filing? They are actively seeking capital to fuel their growth or operations. The use of convertible notes is a double-edged sword. On one hand, it provides them with funds without immediately diluting existing shareholders. On the other hand, it represents future dilution if the notes are converted, and they are essentially promising a portion of their future equity at a discount. The specific terms, like the discount to the lowest VWAP or trading price, are designed to make these notes attractive to investors in potentially volatile situations. The subordination to Series A preferred stock also indicates there's existing potentially volatile situations. The subordination to Series promising a portion of their future equity at a discount. The specific terms, like the discount to the lowest VWAP or trading price, are designed to make these notes attractive to investors in potentially volatile situations. The subordination to Series A preferred stock also indicates there's existing potentially more senior investment that needs to be honoured first. The key risk here is whether Nuburu can generate enough revenue and profit to comfortably repay these obligations, or if the Alright, that's our breakdown of Nuburu's latest filing. What's your take on these numbers and what they signal for the company's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If this analysis was valuable, hitting that like button really helps, and subscribe for more deep dives. Don't forget to check out the Discord in the description. Thanks for watching. See you next time.